All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am Calvin Harris, Assistant Director of Student Activities of Hampton University. This evening, we want to welcome you to an open conversation about sex, relationships, and health because we understand that your health matters. On this week, we've been examining a lot of things that are happening within our minority and brown communities, and health is important. So we wanted to come together on today for the I Am the Legacy project that has been taking place this week and next week here at Hampton University, and just have a real one-on-one conversation. Today I am joined by Ms. Megan Hill of the Health Center.
Hi, my name is Megan Hill, and I am the Certified Health Education Specialist at Hampton University through the Health Center. And so just a couple of things that I do as far as on campus, a lot of health promotion and health education goes on throughout the year, many different activities. And then I am also the advisor to our peer health educators that we have here at Hampton University. So they're also joining us to go through and answer some of your questions that you all may have. I know several of you guys submitted your questions early. We appreciate you for submitting early. However, if you did not get to submit your question early, feel free to type your questions in the comments as well. This is a free and open space, very judgment-free zone. Definitely would like for you guys to enter all your questions. This is a safe space. And now I am going to turn it over to my peer health educators as well as my resident expert as well to introduce themselves. So take it away, guys.
One second.
And so I'm just a part of Peer Health, and I love every step of it. And everyone can go next.
Hi everyone, my name is Jaya Walker. I'm a third year health science student with a concentration in policy administration from Virginia Beach, and I was certified as a peer health educator over the summer, and I'm really excited. I love doing health education and like helping out my peers, so this is a really great opportunity.
Okay, I'll go next. My name is Destiny Tillman. I'm a third year psychology major, leadership studies minor with a concentration in management from Waldorf, Maryland. And I was also certified as a peer health educator over the summer. I've enjoyed this whole program so far, and I'm excited for what we have in store.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Brown. I'm a third year kinesiology major, Spanish minor from Southern Maryland, and I'm a certified peer health educator. This is the start of my first year, and I look forward to working with the Hampton University students and the Hampton University community to continue promoting health.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kendra Howard. I'm a graduating senior psychology major from Jacksonville, Florida. And I've been a part of the Peer Health Educators for 2 years now. It's exciting. I love it. I love learning new things, and I love educating other people on new things as well. And I also serve as a certified peer health educator over the summer to the incoming freshmen.
Awesome. And I think we may have lost Miss Val. Give me 1 second to see. She's coming back in. We apologize. Technology is great when it actually works, right? So thank you for being so understanding. Yeah, you gotta let her back in. Awesome. Yep. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Miss Val. We'll let you introduce yourself real quick.
Miss Val, can you hear us?
All right. Well, we will continue on and we'll go ahead and get started. I do have the questions available, so we will get started and we'll go with our first question of the evening. So this was one of the submitted questions that we had. So we'll go through with that, and I'm going to read it to you guys. And I guess we'll go ahead and get started with the nitty and the gritty. Okay, we'll take it straight all the way there today. Here we go. What's the best way to ask your partner if they have been tested? So what's the best way to ask your partner if they've been tested for STD? What do you guys think? What's the best way to ask your partner if they have been tested for STD?
Well, I'll go ahead and take this one first. Miss Hill, I know you have this famous saying of if you think you're grown enough to have sex, you're grown enough to talk about it. So, you shouldn't be, you should be grown enough and responsible enough to talk with your partner and know that it's a mutual respect thing. That when you ask them, you can ask them, hey, I value my health very much, and I respect you enough, and I respect myself enough to have this conversation with you. Because if we're going to do the most intimate process a human can do, I'd like to know we're doing it safely. And so there shouldn't be any type of discomfort necessarily when talking about it, because you both want to be safe. You both want to enjoy yourself without, in the back of your mind wondering, is this okay? Am I going to be okay? Do I need to go get tested tomorrow? Because I don't know. So it's all about just respecting each other, respecting yourself, and making that clear to your partner should make the conversation flow much easier.
So,
Especially there's no reason why you can't have that open line of communication. If you're willing to be intimate with someone, then you should be able to have those difficult conversations, whether they feel uncomfortable or not. Just allowing your partner to feel comfortable and closer to you, I think, will help you all around in your relationship.
I totally agree with that. I think a lot of times when you are interested in someone and you are getting to the point of getting to know them, that authentic relationship makes it very easy to ask that particular question. But we do have situations where we kind of hook up quickly with individuals and you might not be in the moment thinking, but it's always best, at some point to have that question because it's being sexually responsible at the same time. So I applaud you on that response. That's good to know.
And then also just making sure that if you think about it, you want to have that conversation prior to. Like you were saying, yes, sometimes we get caught up in the moment, but if we already have that out of the way, it's not like you're in the middle of the act and you're like, oh, by the way, have you been tested? And so it's too late then, right? And so making sure that you do have those conversations and you have those that open dialogue. And then just like Kelsey said, my famous saying is if you're grown enough to have sex, you're grown enough to talk about it. But then also with that, even if you're talking about when's the last time you've been tested, you also need to be able to talk about whether or not protection is available. Okay, so you always want to make sure that you're practicing safe sex. Okay, having as my mom used to say, have good, clean fun. And so that's the point that we want to do. We want to make sure that we're safe as well as having that open discussion. So very good. That was a good way to open it up. Anybody else have anything that they want to add? All right, we're going to move on to the next question.
I don't have any questions, but for the people out there that are viewing us, please feel free to utilize the comments tab. We do have a moderator, Ms. James, who is looking at your comments. So if you have any comments, questions, please go ahead and utilize that so that we can address them and include you in the dialogue as well, because we really want to hear what Hampton University students and community have to say about health and sex and love and all of that great stuff. So let's move on. What's the next question, Megan?
All right. Well, since we're on the topic of sex, we might as well stay on the topic of sex. All right. Because we're grown enough, right? We're grown enough to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. All right. So it says, what are the effects of being sexually active as a teen? So what are some of the effects of being sexually active as a teen?
I think I'll take on that question. I think the effects not only could be, I guess, positive, as we know, the biological effects would happen when you do have sexual relations with someone, but we need to talk about what not necessarily was a negative something that could happen that could affect your life. I think first and foremost, you should decide before you are in the midst of having sex or about to have sex with someone, decide before whether you even want to do that, whether you're ready to allow yourself to be that intimate with someone else. And then once you decide, you have to ponder about what's going to happen after that. Could you get pregnant? If you are not someone that can get pregnant, could you get your partner pregnant? Which means then you all will have to make another difficult decision, whether, however you decide to go on from that point. But that could be a child, that could be 18 years of your life that you didn't plan for. Whether or not you could get an STD or an STI because you didn't check to make sure, like we said prior, who was clean. Were you guys tested? Will you go get tested together? Are you doing it safely so that no one will get hurt? And I think a lot of things that people don't think about is the emotional connection that you can develop with someone after you allow yourself to be that intimate with them. If you didn't decide beforehand that you were ready and then you go ahead and go through with it, you may be not happy with yourself because you allowed yourself to do that. But now you're emotionally tied to them. So now you're going to feel obligated maybe to continue having sex with them, or they may have power over you to continue pressuring you through stuff that you're not really into. So yeah, I don't feel like necessarily pros and cons, but yeah, definitely the effects of, sex.
Definitely good answer. Good answer.
And I totally agree with you. Everything you just said on the money. I also believe that, to your point, when you're a teenager and you're involving yourself in sexual actions, as a teenager, we've all been teenagers before. We're not very open of telling our parents or discussing this with our doctor, with our parents in the room, because they're not necessarily individuals yet. We're still kind of minors. And so you may have had sex and then you might have gotten something from someone and you don't know because you don't want to tell your doctor because they could tell your parents. And so you could be spreading this, through all these different partners, or you could be getting super sick yourself and you don't know until it's too late. And then you've affected not only yourself, but everyone you've ever done anything with. So that's my take on it.
So let's deviate. I'm gonna deviate just a little bit if you don't mind.
No, you're fine.
So the initial question was teenagers. So now I look at you all as young adults. And in college, are those effects still the same for you? Or do you think they're stronger now, like where you have to be more conscious of the effects of having sex at an early age?
I would definitely say that I believe that you do. You have to be more conscious because at the rate that we are, at the age that we are in this college, between the age of 17 to like 23ish or something like that, you have to think about not only are you being sexually active with this person, but what kind of baggage does that person come with? Not only what baggage you come with, but if anything were to happen, you have to think about what's next. Like, are we ready to take on a responsibility of the child being involved? I mean, do I know your family? Do I want you to meet my family? It's a whole lot of things that take on that aspect. And after we graduate, I mean, we're stepping out into the real world. We may not stay in Virginia or wherever we may be. We want to move. We want to travel. There's a whole lot of things that take into effect. So, like I said before, that open line of communication has to stay open. At that moment, when you feel like you can't be open with your partner, then there's that disconnect, and you don't ever want to close that door.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we, as young people, a few years removed from being a young person, but I do see the climate on the campus, and we're talking intimate relationships between you and your partner. We have to also identify that the community, sometimes your peers can really affect your relationship. So those effects of having sex where you feel as though you are intimate with one person, it could be relayed to his homeboys or her homegirls dropped in a group chat.
Right.
Like, it could go haywire like the next day when you wake up. So it builds up. So we must remember that healthy relationships mean that you have to not only look at what happens in the bedroom, but what are the effects that can happen outside of the bedroom. And unfortunately, in our society today, we are all about social media gossip, who's who and who's doing who, and that can also play a mental part of you because what you feel is so intimate and private to yourself. You must always remember that the effects of somebody else can harm you, and like, damn, that was my business.
Right,
So
exactly.
you never know. So that's
And Mr. Harris, I thought it was amazing because I was just perfect because, you know, on the campus, it could be so different, which is why I also believe that it's important to be independent and to not always just go with the flow and to recognize like, hey, you know, all my friends are doing it and all my friends are having fun with this group of people and they're, you know, sharing their secrets. I would rather focus and be independent for myself. So that way I don't fall into the mix of gossip and all of the rumors because, you know, human nature loves to be nosy. So, you know, being independent, really just sticking to yourself is very important. So, oh, perfect.
Right, and then when you just based on how you added that as well, thinking about it, so now I would say based on societal views and being in college right now in this current day and age, is it okay to still be a virgin? A lot of times people are like, oh, well, you're in college, you shouldn't have your virginity, and things like that. But instead of looking at it as being sexually responsible, you know, they're shunning you for still being a virgin. So do you think it's okay to still be a virgin in college?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially, you know, if you know, depending on your religion, you find it as a moral obligation for yourself to stay a virgin, that is completely okay because you're never late. You're always on time because everyone's life is different and everyone has a time and a place for their own growth and their own decisions. No one should be the same. So just because your best friend's like, girl, what you doing? Like, why not you get with him? It's like, recognize your own morals and don't succumb to peer pressure because it's okay. You know, just like kind of like how college goes, you could graduate in 8 years and then be the next Steve Jobs. Like you're never late, you're on time.
But I think it's so crazy though. So I'm gonna speak for the males. You know what I'm saying?
Speak for the guys.
I don't know if when I was in college, if I had been a virgin at that time, would I have told my friends? I think for a female it's cool.
Okay.
But I think for a male it is the expectation or the assumption you are having those relationships.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because even in college sometimes, you know, you could just be talking to somebody, not even thinking it's going that route.
Mm-hmm.
And the world
Mm-hmm.
assumes other, and then do you really say, oh, well, no, you can always say, no, we're not kicking it. But for my guys, will be like, yo, why you ain't hit that yet? Like, people don't, sometimes dudes don't realize it's two people.
Right.
Somebody has to, both have to agree to this.
Right.
You know, it's consensual relationships. So it's not as easy as me saying like, oh, yo, I want to get some tonight and to just be like that. But I think for females on campus, early young adults, I think that it is viewed there, but there is a double standard. And I think that's another thing that the effects of it mentally, some guys can't handle it because some guys don't put themselves out there like that. And then there's other people that are very out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And then sometimes too, you have to think about our ratio. What's our ratio on campus? You
I don't
know,
know what Hampton. You know, Hampton not really just. Do you know that?
it's usually 4 to 1 or
Four
more.
females
More.
to one.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes more depending on the year.
Right.
So
then we got to break it down to that's the heterosexual world. Then you got to have the vicarious world, alternative LGBTQ plus community, and then it's just like so the ratio 1 to 1. You shoot your shot, you might get got. I don't know.
and so, but even with that being said, just based on that description, that shows how deep sex is. Okay, so it's not just like, oh, maybe I'll go do this today. No, it's a lot that goes into it. So you always have to make sure that you're ready. Very good. Let me see if we have any more sexually related questions. If we don't, we'll move on. Let's see. Oh, here we go. How important is it to use protection on the male part and the female part?
Educate me. What are female? Oh, like female condoms.
Well, so basically, who's responsible? Who's responsible for having the condom and protection?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and kind of slide in what I was saying to finish off the other part and answer this one. So to kind of tag off of what Kathy was saying, it definitely has to do with your standard. Like, don't allow anybody to put you in a position where you feel like you have to be pressured into anything because there is no time limit. It's your time. And although some people feel as though it's not that deep, it's not that serious, for other people, it may be that serious. It may mean that this is something so valuable and so precious to me, and I'm allowing someone to come in to have some type of piece of me or part of me. And so it becomes deeper than that. And then when it comes to this question, it's like both can. You know, it doesn't have to have a label on it because there are female and male condoms. There's dental dams. There are a whole lot of other things that you can get into when it comes to even oral sex. So it doesn't have a necessary role as far as gender on it. It's about how safe do you want to be.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, because I mean, both of y'all can. You know, it's about your preference and what you do.
And I think it's very positive. I know that the health center, along with you peer health educators, doing 12 to 2 last year, going behind the blue curtain, educating ourselves in that private moment. You know, I learned a lot as an adult because there were some things that I didn't know were out there. And it, you know, it's not really like tapping into an unknown or a taboo side, but it was very good to see our university and the Department of Health really stepping up to educate our students, meeting them where they are in the student center of all places. You know, because sometimes people might not want to come to your health center because people might see or whatever, but just to be walking through the stew and just actually see a display, get that one-on-one interaction, meeting the students where we are, I think that is very positive, and we want to continue to do that same work, which we can do it virtually. I don't know. Can we?
I've been working. I've actually been working on that. So once it gets approved, then we'll see how it goes. But I've been working on some things like regarding that as well. So at the end of the day, I want everybody to be safe. That's the bottom line. That's why I'm here. Safety first. And so definitely want everybody to be safe. So kudos to the peer health educators as well as student activities. You guys have always been supportive of everything that we do over at the health center on the health education promotion side. So definitely appreciate that. And then the pop-up shop that he was referring to was called the Rapid Express. You know, Rapid Express. So yeah, that was good stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that, but I was like,
Yep, play on words, definitely. See, but it's still
And
still clean.
I just wanted to put in there, you know, for those of you that were not with us last year, what she's referring to was there was a time in the health center where us as peer health educators, as well as part of student activities, with the guidance of Ms. Hill, of course, we had different stations and we educated anyone that just wanted to come by and learn about what sex, you know, on campus is about, and, you know, the nitty gritty about it, kind of like how we're talking about it now, but a little more discreet because, you know, we're in a student center. We don't want to get into it too much. But so it was just a face-to-face type of interaction to inform you. So just in case you guys didn't know what the pop-up shop was or anything, just letting you know what it was.
And we literally had everything in there. We had dental dams, which are, you know, for oral sex. We had flavored condoms. We had, you know, all the ribs and everything. So anything and everything that you could have thought of, that was in the pop-up shop. And so just so that you could be aware. But we also had information regarding STIs as well. A lot of times people don't realize that when you're within that age range of 15 to 24 and you're sexually active, it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to end up with an STI. 1 out of 2 people before the age of 24 will end up with an STI. So that's something that you want to take in consideration. And at the end of the day, honestly, that's scary. A 50-50 chance. And then, of course, it's increased, you know, when it's unprotected. So we just really definitely want everybody to be safe, always safe. And that's the thing. If you are practicing abstinence, that's great. That is the safest way that you can be. If you're still a virgin, that's great. That's the safest way that you can be. However, if you are going to have sexual intercourse, making sure that you get tested as well as being safe is something that will help you practice safe sex. So it's all about safe sex practices. Very good.
And I just wanted to add something really quick to what everyone said. What we said in the beginning, if you're grown enough to do it, then you're grown enough to talk about it. And I just think being accountable and being responsible is also important, because if you can't have those types of talks with the person, with your partner, then I don't think you should really even try to go there with that person, because it's a maturity thing. if they aren't mature enough to handle that type of conversation, then maybe you should like reevaluate how you're gonna proceed.
Very
with it.
good. All right, so let's switch it over. So here we go. I have some important Your Health Matters questions. This is really, really good, and this is so, so important, especially as African American and people of color, minorities. It says, how would you go about finding out your family medical history? And then I would want to add is, why is it important to know your family medical history as well?
So I can start off on that question. First of all, I'm going to talk about why it's so important to know your family medical history. It can really impact your health later down the line. If you can give your doctor your family medical history, they can do screening tests that can identify markers for like chronic diseases that might run in your family, especially for people that are in the Black community, things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes. There are prominent chronic diseases in our community, so it's important for you to know what runs in your family so you can start trying to fight it early on. You can also make a decision to change like your lifestyle. So if you adopt a healthier lifestyle because you know that you might be more susceptible to certain diseases, you can greatly reduce your risk later down the line. So some tips to like trying to like figure out your family history.
Jay, let me
I
pause you
think
for
the
1 second.
Mhm.
She made a point of being susceptible to something, right? And so with that, just because you're susceptible to something, does that necessarily mean that you are going to get it? No.
Oh no,
No,
absolutely
that's where
not.
that prevention
Absolutely
comes into
not.
play that you were just talking about. So if we know that we can prevent certain things because we're more susceptible to them because of our family history, then that's when we can sit here and say, oh, well, if I know diabetes runs in my family, what am I going to do to prevent getting diabetes or becoming pre-diabetic? Okay, and
Right,
that's something
right.
definitely. But yes, carry on with your
Absolutely.
tips.
So one of my tips is you can definitely try to implement this into like family reunions or family gatherings that you might have. I know it's kind of awkward to like talk about like what's going on with your health, but you can kind of make it if you involve everyone in your family and try to make it informational as well as fun. I think that could be like something that could really benefit your family. I know for my family, heart disease run in our family. So my cousin, she does like a presentation about how important it is to eat healthy and to exercise and to like check in with everyone to make sure everyone's on the right track as far as health.
I think for myself, many people don't know my own personal story. I am a diabetic. My father, he was very ill with diabetes, just taking in control. He wasn't really managing it. About 3 years ago, I literally could be at work and turn a whole Sunkist soda, 2 liter, to my head, be thirsty all day, not thinking nothing about it, and still be thirsty. I started to notice my weight just dropping. And then, just talking to my dad, he was like, yeah, you might want to get in touch. You might be a diabetic, blah, blah, blah. Went, got tested. Am a diabetic, do take pills. I wasn't really taking it serious. My father did pass away from diabetes complications last August. And now in my mind, I have to be a little bit more serious. I have to, go to the gym, watch what I eat. No, I am not the best example of being a diabetic because I still do stop at fast food places, but I definitely in my own home when I'm here, especially through the quarantine, I am very cautious of what I'm eating because I'm sitting here all day working from home. When you're in the house, it is something that you really have to do because I didn't have the chance to do the preventative measures, but now I have to correct it so that I don't want to move up to taking insulin.
Right.
So I manage. I do have to go get blood work done every 3 months and go to the doctor every 3 to 4 months. You know what I'm saying? So it gets to be a little bit hectic. So you must, as a African American, brown community, or human, check your health because I will be perfectly honest. I went to college in 1997 on the campus of Virginia State. Had to have a medical exam to get in, a physical to get in to college. I did not get my next full physical until 2011. You know, so
Well, I would say this, and the only reason why I'm shaking my head in agreement is because that's common in African American men. Okay, it's common in African American men simply because a lot of times they do not seek out health care. Okay, you'll see a female go before a guy will go. Okay, and then also with that, just in general, the stigma that sometimes you have against the healthcare system as an African American or a minority or a person of color, that's another reason. So with that, having these conversations with your family is something that will help you to say, okay, maybe I should go to the doctor. Even still, when we lost our dear Chadwick Boseman, that was something that triggered in our community to say, all right, maybe we do need to go get tested early because certain things they can catch early. And then even still with the dynamic of a minority or an African American family, a lot of times we were taught that a child stays in a child's place, or we can't have these conversations with our elders. And so, but that's the thing, we have to kind of remove that stigma, because if we all work together as a family, then we can work at being preventative and then combating certain diseases that may be prevalent in our family.
Yeah, and I think also in the mental health community, I know Dr. Nova always talks about functional depression, but there are functional sick people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see people out here making movies and stuff, dealing with their own personal stuff, still getting it done. So, and understanding that not everybody looks sick.
Right.
Even though we might not know what looking sick
means. Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like something that we really have to take serious. So these measures of having these conversations amongst us, people that look like us, this is good because we are getting that dialogue and really understanding the aspects of it.
And very, very, very transparent as well. And so with that, it would lead me as well to say, why is it important to go get your checkups?
I think.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Miss Val and Kelsey have comments.
Oh,
Yes.
I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. First of all, Mr. Harris, I'm sorry for your loss. And I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you guys were saying about conversations because, within our community, a brown community, we're not as trusting of medical professionals, as you said. And, especially touching on diabetics, because as a nursing student, I have delved deep into that and into so many disorders such as that. And more than death can actually happen. You could lose your limbs simply because you ignored your blood sugar. You can go into a coma. So many horrible things besides this can happen. So just because, I'm not dead, so nothing's wrong. That's not the right mindset to have, because so much more can happen leading you down that path. And another thing to touch on is we have to ensure that the health literacy within our communities is strong, because there's so many people that I've touched on in my job working at the hospital where they're looking at their pill bottles and they're like, it says take 2 a day, but I don't know when that is. And they say take, the blue pill, but I've got 3 blue pills. I don't know what any of them do. So I'll just take all of them at once. I've had hundreds of patients that took 2 doses of insulin with 3 of their heart condition pills all at once, having to go to the emergency room because no one told them what their medications meant. No one figured maybe they have a 3rd grade reading level, so I'm not going to say anything to them. But that is a huge part of it. So, Ms. Hill, I know you said, typically we're raised to stay in a child's place, but in this day and time where there's so many unhealthy things out there and it's so hard to access the healthy healthcare and the healthy foods, it's important for us to say, I'm going to be respectful, but I'm going to tell you what's up. I'm going to tell you what's going on. So I feel like that's very important to do with your families as well.
Very good. And then you also said something about health literacy. So that has been something that they've really been looking at in society right now, especially during COVID, because a lot of information has been put out there, but people don't understand it. So health literacy has really been a push that they've been doing as a nation right now in health, but not the whole, we won't go there, but in health, they've been working on that. And so very good point that you brought out. And And then I guess Ms. Val has something to say as well.
I just wanted to piggyback off of two things. The first thing is understanding that, knowing your family history is really very important. Having those difficult conversations, again, as someone had talked about, at the family reunion, talking about, well, does anybody have colorectal cancer or whatnot? It's not the best topic to talk about over food, but it's necessary. And also remembering that family history has to start somewhere. So there may not be anybody down the line that has been a diabetic, and maybe you're the first person. So you start the family history. So it's really important just to make sure that you know what your baseline is. That's why annual well visits and physicals are so important. And when we think about, the financial costs of healthcare, they're also free. So it's good to be able to go in there, get your baseline, find out what's what, and see what you can do about things. The other piece that you all had touched on, which I thought was really important, was really about advocating for yourself. So, because we have a very daunting history with the medical field and the healthcare system, when we look at the Tuskegee experiments and things of that nature, a lot of us can be distrusting of what's going on, or sometimes we're too trusting and we figure we go sit down in the chair and whatever is said, we just have to do that or we have to accept that. So, the importance of making sure that you advocate for yourself. I am a nurse, so shout out to my nursing student there. But there have been times where patients have said, oh, okay, well, you know what? Something doesn't feel right. But I talked to a healthcare professional about it, and they're just like, it's nothing. You live in your body 24/7, you know it best. And so if something doesn't feel right, then you want to go and get that checked out. So just the importance of advocating for yourself. So I just wanted to tack onto that.
So, Miss, thank you for that. So, Megan, we have a question from the audience.
Ooh, question from the audience.
That is really good. This question is from Siani. They are asking, what are some ways that we can remove the stigmas that surround mental health and overall health in our communities?
I would say definitely the conversations that we're having right now. Okay, definitely. That's the thing. Sometimes these are tough conversations, but they have to be had because when you know better, you do better. Okay, and so that's the thing, and sitting there and also being aware that we don't want to shun people for their questions. A lot of times, just like she was saying, with mental health being stigmatized, oftentimes in our community, it's like, oh, well, you go see a therapist, so that means you're crazy. It does not. It does not mean that you're crazy. Literally, with that, it's a check-in, and it's okay. Because we do have to learn how to cope and how to deal with things. A lot of times we have past traumas, past experiences. Right now we're going through a very rough time dealing with COVID, and our systems are kind of off only because we're not in our regular routine. All this is very new, but it's okay to check in and to talk to somebody. It's very okay to check in and talk to somebody. So just making that safe space and then showing that people actually do go to the doctor, or even finding someone that looks like you to go see, because you may be a little more trusting of someone who looks like you.
I think a lot of times, one way that we get over, I really don't know too much about mental health. I don't know too much about health. I know how to overcome and have authentic relationships. I think one thing that we have to do is when you in your own inner circle, be honest with one another. Like if you sitting with your homegirl and you know something ain't right, pull her aside and say, oh, I've kind of noticed this. Because people want you to come to them, and when you show concern, people tell your story. Don't brush a lot of things underneath the rug. I think that way when you are out telling somebody, a lot of things get done by word of mouth. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying say it every day where it's like overkill, but I think that every periodically, having those conversations, especially like a lot of us are in student organizations, fraternities, sororities, church groups, whatever have you. I don't care, you could be a bingo club. Have the conversations, partner with other organizations, and just, find a way to have those conversations, because a lot of times when you tell your story, somebody's listening. And it might just be resonating with them at that time. So I think the best way. And that has to do with health and mental health. You know, myself personally, I've thought about counseling before. I didn't think, but the reason it made me think about counseling is because seeing it on TV. I now see a lot of African American men, whether you're watching Housewives of Atlanta or something, these men are doing it, and they're like, well, dang, what I do got insurance, you pay insurance, so you might as well use it. So that's always a great thing. So I see we got some hands up. Let's go. We want to hear from you.
I just also want to touch on that. I want to also make everyone aware that our community is not just young people. It is also our older communities, our geriatric people. Because, I just recently learned that the highest suicide rate is typically men in the geriatric community. And it's because they don't know how to cope with loss that typically no one thinks about the geriatric community when they think about these issues. But they were young once, they're going through their own issues, and they could be more alone and more isolated than us because, we're tied into technology, we know how to, go out, and we're in this whole virtual age, but maybe no one taught them how to do that, or maybe they're in a nursing home and no one's coming to visit them. So it's also important to recognize that mental health aspect of that. And, it's important to go and volunteer, of course, when this pandemic can hopefully pass, to go and talk to them and to go just sit there and talk and to just sit there and maybe play a game with them or watch TV, because that's huge for someone in the older community with mental health. And actually, there's a question right there that kind of ties into this, but I'm going to let Miss Valerie go, and then I think it would be cool to tie it in.
I just wanted to quickly say, as it relates to stigma, I think, again, like Megan said, having conversations like this are important. Normalizing this type of talk, like it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to question whether or not you want to go to therapy. But I think the other piece is also watching the language that we use. So a lot of the words that we use when it comes to having a mental health issue is, oh, you're crazy, you're nuts, or you're cuckoo. So we have to watch, what we say, because then that also enhances the stigma. So just saying, you know what? The same way that I wouldn't walk around with a broken heart or a broken hand or anything like that, I'm not going to walk away with a broken spirit or emotion. So it's just important to normalize that.
That's right. Real right
there. That's real.
that's like real right there.
And it is. Because it's important to check in. And just like all of you guys have said, talk to each other. Check in with your friends, especially right now. Okay? And then a full moment of transparency. I have a therapist. I go to therapy once a month now. Okay? But I need to check in. It's not that I have any, mental, I don't have a mental health disorder or anything like that, but I need somebody to talk to because I need to vent, or I need understanding, or I need help understanding why I'm feeling a certain way. I need to make sure that I am okay. And it's okay to make sure that you're okay, but it's also okay to say that you're not okay.
Right. And I think as far as from a Black man's standpoint, a lot of times in the past, we were raised to be strong, providers. But nowadays, in the, I don't know what you call it, metrosexual male, people are tapping into their softer side and hitting those vulnerable moments where suicide, because you don't understand. Growing up, it's do this what you gonna do, this what you supposed to do, you be there. But now people are realizing that's pressure. Now people are realizing, as the world is evolving from 20 years ago, it's pressure. Ain't nobody paying $400 rent no more. It's $1,200 on a job that's $9.25 an hour. Because you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's pressure to provide. So those are some things that I think suicide is really another thing that we have to tap on with our young people on campus. So we need to pencil on that for another, that might be another little joint thing. But we do have another question. And I love this question. We kind of hit on it before, but so Kennedy is asking, why do you think the African American community is reluctant to seek mental health assistance? I personally think a lot of it is not out there because we always see commercials about pills for diseases, health problems, but we never really see commercials or social media ads advertising counselors. You see lawyers for if you're going to jail, you know what I'm saying, divorce attorneys, you see all that stuff. So I think that a lot of times it's not really a reluctance; it's the lack of education and knowledge. So that's my point.
And then just knowing how to access those resources. A lot of you guys, you know, especially being students, you guys have the ability to access the Student Counseling Center. You know, Dr. Norwood and the counselors there are very good. And so you have that access, but someone who may not be affiliated with the university or campus may not know how to get that access or how to seek care, or they may not have insurance to seek care. So just making sure that the resources are available, and that's where it comes into still once again talking and engaging, and also just decreasing the stigma altogether that it's okay to seek help, but where do you go to seek help? So making sure that people have adequate resources to know where to go. All right, yeah.
I think that Black people, as a people, we have been taught to be strong because of the past and because of what our ancestors have endured. And I know that takes a toll on us. And I know it's probably something we didn't think of because it's so common to just, hear somebody say something, about your hair, ask about your hair, like, oh, your hair's so short today, did you cut it? Just simple things like that. We don't really think about it. And now the civil unrest is so apparent, it's so in your face. And we're thinking, well, we're not slaves. It's not that bad. But it is. It does take a toll on you. I had to be honest with myself and realize that I was just not okay. I couldn't sit on social media and just look for hours and hours on end and just be disgusted to see the filth that people are saying, to see people that look like me just being treated terribly. But yeah, I think we need to realize that it's okay to be not okay, like we've all been saying, and to realize like you can be feeling a way. Of course, this is not slavery, but it's okay to know that it's still not okay.
And I think you bring up a good point about social media and how that impacts mental health. So I always say there's a fine line between being educated and being inundated. And that's with social media, the regular media. You want to make sure, you're kept abreast, you know what's going on, but you also have to know and check in with yourself and know, okay, you know what, I can't do social media today because it's just too much. You're being inundated by the information. And so that's really important. And I think as people of color, there is so much going on right now that even if it's, something that's positive, it still reminds you of the negative that is going on. And so you just have to check in with yourself and be honest and know that it's okay if you just can't do whatever it is today. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm not getting on social media today, and just being okay with that.
Right. And I know, go ahead.
And I'm sorry, you're here. Ms. Valerie, when you were speaking that, I thought about the presidential election last night, because that triggered me quite a bit, because it was so much. And even though points were made, it just gave me anxiety, because it's like, oh my gosh, like this is really what's going on in our country right now. And it just, I knew for myself, I had to pause it. I remember I had to go back. I couldn't keep watching it, because I knew that if I kept watching it, I wasn't gonna be able to sleep right, because it was just so much. I mean, if you didn't tune in on it, no shame, because not everyone's into politics, but it got me.
Awesome. I think Keandre, were you trying to say something?
Yes. So basically, I think the biggest step in taking that leap of faith and knowing that, you know what, I should seek that outside help, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a counselor. And there's a difference between a therapist and a counselor, depending on what assistance you necessarily need. But knowing that, you know what, I can't handle this on my own anymore. So taking that initiative to reach out, to step out, and know that it's okay to just ask for that help. You don't have to carry it all on your shoulders all the time. And like, just as you all said, you guys see a therapist. I see a therapist myself, and I love her. It's been about a year, and I didn't think I want to stop seeing her, even, you know what I'm saying? Because having that outlet, it's really, really, really useful, and it's really helpful to have. So don't think that I feel like I'll be less than, or I feel like I'm weak because I seek that assistance. No, it makes you stronger than ever, to be quite honest with you, because you're taking that leap.
Right.
Yes, I think
I would like to add on that I think. Oh, you can go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was just gonna add on that I think is also to fight the stigmas. I think it's important to research. I know for me personally, trying to find a therapist was kind of difficult because I've tried different therapists in the past, and we didn't really gel well together. I didn't really like the way they handled things. So as I got older, I knew that I needed to take the initiative to research into like how the therapists conduct their practice, what research they've been into, like what type of therapy are they qualified to do, and like try to find what's like the best fit for you. Because I think if you do more research, it kind of becomes less scary because you know what you're getting into. And so you don't necessarily have to be afraid of the unknown, if that makes any sense. But yeah, definitely like do your research and try to find someone that works best for you, because I think that makes things a little less scary.
So yeah, what I was about to say, and that's a good point. For myself, I thought about counseling, but I'm not a big reader, but I do look at some self-help books. And not too long ago, I was reading a little thin pamphlet. I don't know if anybody's ever goes to like the African stores or anything in our community. But Dr. Naeem Akbar is a professor at FAMU. He wrote a book talking about breaking the psychological chains of our past. And in that book, he talks about tapping into your inner spirit. Somewhat along the lines of like Ayanna Van Zandt. It's only like a 50-page little pamphlet book, but he talks about looking at daily affirmations, finding a journal, and just finding those outlets and realizing that the past is from yesterday. You can change your tomorrow when you change your mindset on a lot of things. And sometimes educating yourself within changes the thought within yourself and that spirit and body. So that's how we can change the stigma and stuff like that. Also, I think from going forward, we have to really examine what the issue is and realize that insurance is not expensive. Going to a counselor is not expensive. You talk to your friends, probably cost you more over a bottle of liquor and food than what it costs to go to a counselor to talk about the same thing and get a response. Because sometimes you talk to your homeboys or your homegirls and they're like, yo, you tripping.
Right.
And it's like brushed off, and you really be having like a sincere
problem, right?
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you might talk, like, sometimes my mother is a playful person. So you really have to like give that disclaimer to my mother, be like, I'm about to tell you something serious, okay? And then she'll be like, all right, I got you. But other than that, she's gonna think that you're really joking when it really could be something serious unless your body is showing tears or emotion. My mother is the happiest person. Like, she really doesn't have too many bad days. But I think my mother also is a spiritual person that wakes up, goes through her mental regime, and then goes on with her day. So I really think that we are hitting on a lot of great points there.
And so I was going to say something regarding the social media aspect. Every now and then, it's okay to unplug. And so with that being said, I'm going to allow Mr. Harris to give you guys a shameless plug on our social media blackout day.
All right. Yeah, because I heard Ms. John did mention it. So the Iron the Legacy project was really, as you all know, it's kind of in place of homecoming. I am a firm believer that mentally we are missing homecoming. Like, we should be literally, it is Wednesday, getting ready for the turn up, but we're not. But in another sense of it, I think with a lot of things that's going on in our community right now, we have to realize, as being part of the Hampton University community, that we are the legacy. As Black people, we are the legacy that the world needs to see. So this week and next week, we're hosting these type of events. On tomorrow, on social media, we have the HU Blackout Day. I am asking for everybody to post that flyer on all social media aspects at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and refrain from posting until 8 p.m. And I want the world to see that we stand as a unified force, because say their names is really important. I think we have touched on a lot of mental things, and I think it is tripping a lot of us living amongst the land of the living that our brothers and sisters are dying for walking across the street, driving a car, holding a juice. Like, things that we do every day in our community unconsciously, we're dying. Me being a Black man who is established, I live not in the projects, but I live in a redevelopment hood, I guess. I don't know what to say. They're building up the area, okay? But when I walk outside, it's like I mind my business, but am I really safe? So mentally, this plays a part because when we turn on the TV, it gets to be depressing. So on tomorrow, we are really asking for everybody, please. And beyond tomorrow, even though we're doing this tomorrow in the name of Say Thy Name, I think that we have to really be mindful of what we're putting on social media. You know, anybody that follows me on social media, I love taking pictures, but I have realized that some of my captions might be inappropriate. But I have to take accountability for that, and going forward, I might, and I'm saying might loosely because I'm grown, and but I am going to think about that. So what images we are portraying on social media, we really want tomorrow to be a day of unified. So please, everybody in this world right now that's watching us, please post this on tomorrow. This just from 8 to 8. Just take a little fast on social media. Not saying that you can't go on social media and look, because other people who are not Hampton will see or be posting. But I'm saying from yourself, if you are, just refrain from posting tomorrow, because we really want to take a stand in our own Hampton way in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, in support of Say Their Names, because it's crazy right now. It is really crazy.
And I remember a couple of weeks ago, I saw a post and just said, check on your African American friends because they're not okay. This has definitely been a rough year for us as a culture. And so that's something that you do want to take into consideration. So yes, we got really, really deep on the mental health aspect of things. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of diet and exercise and healthy eating. So we do have some questions regarding diet and exercise and healthy eating. Let's see. Here we go. Where is it? All right. How would you suggest discipline for a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, discipline for a healthy lifestyle. I think that is a great question. I think especially now during this time of quarantine, during this time of being in our houses more, we need to work on making sure we're still maintaining complete wellness within ourselves, not just mentally, but physically with what we're eating and if we're exercising or not. I think the first thing is making a plan, and then you need to execute the plan. I think bottom line, that's what you need to do. It's very simple to say, but it's definitely not simple to do. There are many ways you can get there. I think I would start by making sure you set goals for yourself, whether that's to lose weight, whether that's to, I guess, burn fat. If you carry your weight in one place, maybe you want to work on that. The food you eat, maybe that's cutting out sodas, or cutting out the fast food, the excess of carbs that you eat, and you got to plan on how you're going to get there. What works best for you. It's kind of like driving to get to a destination. If you don't like highways, maybe take a different route. You can run. Running is a great full body exercise. But if cardio is not your thing, cardio is definitely not my thing. I like to lift weights, do resistance band type exercises to still work your muscles, but also give yourself that full body that you need. And I think overall, just holding yourself accountable. I share with my friends if I have a plan to change a habit, or if I want to do something to change a part of myself. They're going to keep me in check, making sure it's Samira, did you work out today? What did you eat today? You said you were going to do that. Why are you doing this? And I think we need to be more disciplined in resisting our cravings. We all have cravings. It's normal to have cravings. That's a natural body response to when you're depriving yourself of something, but trying your best to resist that craving to gorge and eat what you said you didn't want to eat. Resist the I don't want to. If you say you want to work out 3 days a week, it's Monday, it's 6 o'clock, you're tired, you had a long day, do something. If you're not going to do the whole workout, do something so that you still are pushing yourself, moving your body, getting closer to your goal. But yeah, overall, I think that's definitely a way to get there, a way to start. But definitely find out what works specifically for you, because what works for me may not work.
And I think that's very important what you just said, where if it's 6 o'clock, just do something. because you develop habits when you're tired. It's easy to do anything when you're full of energy and you're ready for the day, you have nothing to do. But when it's, you just finished writing a paper, doing a presentation, running errands, doing your workout or cooking the right meal after all of that exhaustion, when you do it right, then when it's a good day, it's easy. Then, it gets better. I'm not going to say it's always easy, but it gets better when you do it tired.
And I do have a quick little shameless plug. Just on the topic of health and everything, if you guys are trying to help maintain your weight, or if your goal is weight gain or weight loss, the University Intramural Sports Athletics and Health Center are combining, and they're making a goal getter challenge. You guys should have got the email in your Hampton University email today. I got it today at least. So yeah, basically the challenge is just to aim towards your goal, whether it's weight gain, weight loss, or just maintaining it. So the registration link is also on the flyer that you do in your email. You guys have to go to register, I believe. That's right, Miss Hill? Okay, and then the challenge is from October 12th to December 13th, 2020. And you just register under a student, whether male or female, and the winners will be announced December 14th.
Awesome. Nice. Very good.
I just want to say too, I think it's important to make whatever it is a part of your routine. So the same way, that you'll get up, you'll brush your teeth, you get dressed. If you start adding those things, that it takes 21 days to break a habit and to make a habit. So, start putting that together. And I think what you said about social support is really important. When you set a goal, you figure out what your plan is, figure out who can hold you accountable, but you need it to be the right person and a supportive person. You don't want that person to say, oh, I knew you weren't going to, I know you weren't going to go through with this, or I knew you were going to eat that food and you weren't going to, you want somebody in your corner that's going to be like encouraging and keeping you moving forward. But we make time for whatever we feel is important. So if it's really important, then you got to start setting the goals, and that Go Getter program is going to be great. So.
Awesome.
And can I say something really quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's also known as as all of you lovely people were saying, SMART goals. So basically you're gonna set your goal, then you're gonna measure your goal, then you're gonna set an achievement to reach that goal, something that's relevant, and then something that has a time limit on it. So all of these things come into play. Like, we want to set a goal that, one, it's going to make sense and that that you can achieve. Don't set something that's so far fetched to where it's like, okay, I know I can't reach this, but I'm going to set it anyways. You can start off with something small and you can build something bigger. And so that that at the end of whatever time period that you've allotted for yourself, that you can reach that goal. And so that's what I would say as far as setting goals to achieve your healthy lifestyle.
Very good. So unfortunately, it is 8 o'clock. We had such great discussion. The time went by super duper fast, so I guess that means we have to do a part 2.
Part 2.
All right, part 2 coming up. So please, we appreciate everybody for logging in and joining us today. Look out for part 2. Make sure you submit questions early to the link. Any questions that we did not answer, and it was probably about 6 questions that we didn't get to answer today. We'll definitely reach your questions. And then, so that's all I have. I'll let my lovely co-host, take it over and give his final words.
All right. Once again, thank you all. Please be sure to follow them on Instagram at HamptonU_PHE, as well as HU Health Center. They are available. It's amazing. They do great posts on the internet. Throughout the rest of the week, we have the social media blackout going on tomorrow. On this Friday, DJ Campbell, a Hampton alum, will be doing his virtual party from 12 to 2.
Turn up.
And then, it's big.
Oh, drum roll.
This Saturday, 7
p.m.
we have the Miss Hampton University Scholarship Pageant.
All right, one of our lovely panelists.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think the educators have two because
Kyla.
Kyla Jordan is one of them as
Very
well.
good.
We want to congratulate all of these 8 contestants who will be coming forward to compete to become our next legacy.
Oh man,
Part of a tradition. Miss Hampton University. These ladies have worked so hard. So we hope that everybody will be tuning in. We will be posting a flyer again, probably tonight. We're gonna post it again on Friday because we're not posting tomorrow. Do you hear me? Not posting tomorrow.
All right.
But yes, please keep these young ladies in prayer. And we did just announce our Mr. Pirate, Jordan Ray, man of Omega Psi Phi. We haven't had a Q as Mr. Pirate in many years. So we look forward to seeing who will be our next Royal Court. Once again, I thank you all. Look for part 2 because I think we're on to something great. Please keep your communications. Hit us up on social media. Go in the DMs. Send in emails. We are accessible to you. But once again, we're going to go ahead and close out tonight. Out there in the world, please stay strong. Remember, brothers and sisters, you are part of the legacy. So going forward, remember that. And we will see you all on tomorrow. Thank you all.
Ace, you strong together. Your health matters, guys. Yes.
Can we do our 1, 2, 3, Miss Hill? You know, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our 1, 2, 3 moment.
Okay, we'll bring it in. They want us to bring it in on camera. Everybody